Shalom, truth seekers. So, wanted to make a part 2 on this topic. Been a week and been looking into it, been asking questions, and had some interesting feedback. And so here's what I've been able to find. Consider it. Let's have some iron sharpening iron. Let me know what you think. And I don't know if this is conclusive yet, but I do think some more interesting points have been brought forth, and there's a little more to consider here. So, kind of picking up where we left off from part 1, I was looking at the two verses, these first verses here, Leviticus 23:14 and Joshua 5:11. And the thing is, the instruction seems to be, this is talking about first fruits, and it seems to say you shall not eat certain things until the self-same day you've brought an offering, which is, if you read up above, this offering is the first fruits offering. So there are these certain food types, and it's either, I guess bread, couldn't eat bread, period. It's interesting. Nor parched corn, nor green ears. So I zeroed in on the parched corn, I guess. But I noticed, the important thing is, in Joshua 5:11, it says the Passover, they kept the Passover. And then they said on the morrow after the Passover, they ate unleavened cakes and they ate parched corn in the self-same day. So the word corn is in italics here, and I was going to look in to see why that is and to make sure that this parched corn is the same parched corn we saw in Leviticus 23. And so, let's see, I don't know why that keeps switching on me. But what I was able to find, consider this and let me know what you think, but I guess the Hebrew word there, can't begin to pronounce any of this, but it looks like kali or whatever, roasted ears of grain, parched corn. So I don't know much about the languages, but I'm trying to, and I'm definitely trying. But I do have a friend who I asked if they could clarify what this Hebrew was, and kind of what this Hebrew word was, because they're two different words, and I wanted to make sure they're the same, and this was the answer I got. So, again, the question was about corn, so I don't think the word corn should have even been, makes an interesting point. I don't think the word corn should have even been in there, if I remember my middle school history correctly. I don't know. It seems to ring a bell that corn was an American thing, but whatever. Anyway, the point is, if I'm understanding this correctly, this is the word in question here, and in the interactive translation project, where I kind of tried to pull the original languages in, I guess this is the word right here, but apparently there it is, that Chali or Kali or whatever, and so you can see there it is, Kali, so I guess we're talking about the same word here. And I guess my friend is thinking, you can read what they say here, but I think the best summary of it all is here. So the difference in these terms that we see, the different Strong's number for this one and the different Strong's number for this one up here, the difference is that this one is the Kali and this one is something slightly different. But I guess what's being explained is that this one is kind of the catch-all, so this is talking about like all grains in general, and then this is talking about a specific grain, if I'm understanding that correctly. So this instruction seems to be broad enough to include this, if I'm not getting that switched, like this one being broad and this one being narrow. So I mean, this, in theory, it seems like this is broad enough to encompass this. So this does seem to be saying they were eating food that was contained in the category of parched corn, or this kali. So that would seem to imply, according to this, that this story in Joshua is showing us they celebrated the Passover, and then on the morrow after the Passover they ate this food, which they weren't supposed to eat until the same day they brought an offering. And so you see this wording is very similar. So that seems like strong evidence to suggest that first fruits was during the week of unleavened bread. And this jumped out at me, but I'm not sure. I'm just going to mention it as food for thought. I mean, it said, "Ye shall not eat bread." That's pretty strange, because weren't they supposed to be... Maybe that's like the difference between raised bread or flat bread. I'll have to look into that one too, I guess. But, I mean, unleavened cakes I thought is bread, so maybe this is raised bread, this is flat bread, but they weren't supposed to eat raised bread. So I don't know if this is another food type match, potentially, but I think it seems to be that this is a match. This is a broad category of like all grains, and this is a specific kind of grain, but it's included in that, so it seems. I do want to go on and mention some of the other feedback I got from other truth seekers. There were some good points brought up. Real briefly, I guess I'll just touch on somebody just mentioned right before I got into making this video. I saw a comment come through where someone was talking about the 50-day count, and again it was this question of should you be including like the Sabbath day of unleavened bread in that count or something, and I think they were saying you should include it. And I just want to briefly mention, I've tried to lay this out before, and I don't think the weekly Sabbath can be included in the seventh-day Sabbath count, because I don't think it's possible. I mean, it doesn't seem possible that you can get the 50-day count to work out. It only seems possible. If I remember when I laid this out, I kind of struggled with this a little bit, but I could be wrong. Jump in there if you think I'm wrong. But I don't think you can get both the 50-day count and the count 7 Sabbaths count to work out correctly, unless it's, I guess it would be starting and ending on Sundays, that 50-day count following the weekly Sabbath. But anyway, another point was brought up, which kind of had me wondering, honestly, and that is a New Testament verse, going to the Greek now. So what is that? First day of the week. See if I got that right. Yes. Okay, so I guess the account that was mentioned was Acts. So, the interesting thing here is there's this phrase, the first day of the week, and if you read the rest of the context here, you'll see it just mentioned unleavened bread. And it said after the days of unleavened bread, and then it gives us some timestamps. It says 5 days and then 7 days. So that's a total of 12 days, keep that in mind. And then in this verse it goes on to say, the first day of the week, the disciples came to break bread together, blah 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 blah, ready to depart on the morrow, the speech, whatever. So I guess he was getting ready to depart on the morrow, so that I guess would be the end of this 5 plus 7 days. So, but this is the phrase right here, and I've noticed this before, and I've heard different truth seekers out there talk about this before, but I've never really heard anyone. There's something weird going on with this phrase, and I've noticed it, but I just don't know. I haven't known what to do with it in the past, and I'm still not exactly sure what to do with it. But it was an interesting point that got brought up. And that is, the first thing you got to notice is the word day is in gray italics, so that shouldn't be there. So it should be upon the first of the week. But there's something else going on here. This word week is just a terrible translation, it seems, and that's another reason why I'm working on the interactive translation project. I think so much doctrinal confusion comes from the translation of things, and I see it even at the seeming highest, most popular levels of even Torah. I saw Torah observant people. I saw a teaching recently where a big Torah channel, I guess you call it that, was starting to take this road down like, I don't know, saying Paul, we should discard Paul or whatnot. And I think that has a lot to do with, it's not because Paul may have been hard to understand, but I think it's because the translation is it's so messed up, it's so inaccurate and inconsistent. But anyway, this word week, if you look here, I typed in the search and it looks like there are 8 verses total that use this phrase. And if you look here, the word is Sabbaton. It's Sabbath. Okay? It's not week. So this phrase should be saying upon the first Sabbath. This phrase is totally wrong, and I think that's what confuses a lot of Christian churches out there. They zero in on this phrase that you see a lot in the New Testament, and they're like, first day of the week, that's why we meet on Sunday. That's how I started noticing this verse. But it's not saying first day of the week, it's saying the first of the Sabbaths. So the question and the point that was brought up was, potentially this was talking about the first of the Sabbaths. First of what Sabbaths? The first of the 7 Sabbaths, counting towards Pentecost, the Omer count. So Sabbath 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this verse was talking about the first of the Sabbath, which could potentially make sense because the days of unleavened bread would have ended, so the first of the Sabbaths would have been like right there somewhere. So remember, there are these timestamps of 5 days and 7 days for a total of 12 days. So 12 days after unleavened bread is the day before they left, because they were going to depart on the morrow. So it's at the end of this 12 days. So we're 12 days after unleavened bread, and that's when this first of the Sabbaths is happening. And so it was suggested that if this was the first of the Sabbaths in the Omer count, then that's clearly way after. It's almost 2 weeks after the unleavened bread, and so that means first fruits surely had to fall after the week of unleavened bread, and is in line with what the Dead Sea Scrolls say, that the first fruits should be on the 26th day of the first month. And if I didn't mention that, I do have concern about that, and I won't say much about it, but I have a video playlist on my YouTube channel, say, testing the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I don't believe they're all bad, but I do believe there's definitely some leaven in there. Doctrines that Yeshua specifically debunked, like pretty much verbatim. The hate doctrines, pulling your animal out of a ditch on the Sabbath, and so I question some of these things, and I am open-minded, but I'm definitely being very diligent to test it, and I'm definitely putting more stock in the scriptural witnesses I see. So it just seems a little too easy that the Dead Sea Scrolls are saying first fruits on the 26th day of the first month. Like, if it was that easy, why wouldn't the Creator have said it? He said it for all the other times. Passover is on the 14th day, unleavened bread 15th day, trumpets first day of the 7th month. So why wouldn't he have done it for first fruits as well? But anyway, so this timeline seems to work out, and it was kind of like, wow. That does seem like 12 days have passed after unleavened bread, and then they're doing the first of the Sabbaths. And so is that the first of the Sabbaths leading towards Pentecost? Surely it seems to be suggesting that first fruits, because first fruits could be more than 7 days prior to that. So it seems to suggest that that's the case, and I kind of chewed on that for a while, and I'm still going to chew on it. But then I guess there is another possibility, and that possibility is that it was referring to the first Sabbath of the new month, and not necessarily the first Sabbath in the counting of 7 towards Pentecost. And look at all these other accounts where this phrase is used, 8 verses. I'm going to have to look into each one individually, but I'm going to have to look into each one individually, but I kind of tend to think they can't all be talking about the first Sabbath, because wouldn't we eventually see and there is another verse I remember hearing one time where it said the second Sabbath. So there were counting Sabbaths. I think it was near the one of the stories of Yeshua and his disciples eating corn in the field. I seem to remember. I'm going to have to look into that one. But I wonder if they just were counting Sabbaths of the first of the month, the first Sabbath of the month, month 1, month 2. Anyway, there's a possibility that that's the case, and I just wanted to show you that scenario. So if the months are approximately 30-day months, and I think those are solar months, I don't think there's any concept of time that Genesis 1:14 allows us to define without a luminary witness. And so I definitely, if you haven't seen yet, again, another reason for the interactive translation project is the mistranslation of in the new moons. It really, that phrase that you see over and over in the scriptures should be saying in the new month. The word for month and moon are completely different. So all that to say, it's my current understanding that the months are actually solar months or stellar months. You can tell what the month is based on either the sun's location in various constellations or just simply looking at a sundial to see the position of the sun different times of year. But anyway, so solar months are approximately 30 days. So if you had, this is kind of the day count in the year. So if you were around day 27 here, your first month will be ending somewhere around 28, 29, 30. And so the first day of the second month would be approximately around here. And so if this was after the days of unleavened bread. Remember, it was 12 days. We have a timestamp of 5 days and then 7 days, so it was 12 days. So potentially you could count approximately 12 days, and you do land somewhere around here. So definitely beyond this, you'd be somewhere out here. So. And the thing is, my current understanding is that the calendar does, due to the 365.25 days, it seems the seasonal year cycle does end. There's a progression of time. I have a video talking about this. He changes the times and the seasons, and I think he designed that in a very intricate way, so people actually have to pay attention to his timepieces per Genesis 1:14, and they can't try and come up with these number cycles that just run without a luminary witness, or run independent of luminary witness, or detached from a luminary witness. But anyway, so I don't know exactly what it looked like in Paul's day, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it is possible that there was a normal seventh-day Sabbath. It's possible the last day of unleavened bread was back here during that year that this account of Paul was written. And so if you had the 12 days, you wouldn't land the first day of the second month here. You'd actually land it here, and then you would have a Sabbath day following that. So, but anyway, food for thought. It's just another possibility. I'm still looking into all these things, but I guess I'm currently I'm still leaning towards this, because it seems this instruction was general enough to include all types of grain, and then this is just telling us it was a specific type of grain, but it falls within this category nonetheless. And so according to this instruction, they weren't supposed to eat this until the day they brought their offering, which was first fruits. So this is telling us this year it worked out, so they were eating it the day after the Passover. So that is where I'm at right now, I guess. We're the clock is still ticking. Where are we now? I guess the ninth. So we're well, that don't seem right, does it? Oh, the 5th month. Are we all the way down here? Time just flies. So anyway, we're about here. So there's like a week or 2 or 3 potentially left. So I'm gonna keep digging into this, and I encourage other people to keep digging into this. Let's have more iron sharpening iron. Go ahead and leave a comment if you think I'm missing anything or things should be considered, and I will be continuing to look into this. And I hope, this has just been this specific, the timing of first fruits. I mean, I have some of my notes from previous years here kind of showing the progression of first fruits, but as you can see, this is the least straightforward of the holy days. Like, these other holy days are just so easy because we're told exactly what day of the month they fall on, but this is not so easy. But continuing to test all things, and I look forward to the day that we actually truth is finally found, and I guess the Creator has His perfect timing for revealing that, and it's the glory of kings to seek out a matter, and so I don't know exactly why, but he has chosen not to reveal everything immediately, and it's kind of a progression, and so I think Paul talks about that a little bit, like we feel after him, we see through the glass dimly, but we feel after him, and I think he, for whatever reason, I don't know, you say he's playing hard to get. I don't think he's playing hard to get, but I mean we get to know him better, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, I look forward to the day we have this all figured out. But it's been a progression, and I don't think I'm totally there yet, but I think this is a big piece to the puzzle, this right here. And so I invite feedback, and until next time, shalom, and may Allah bless as you continually seek out His truth in love with a pure heart.